NFL season. Hopefully, you guys saw last week. I ripped the cover off the ball with my picks here on the show. Um, but more importantly, it's only week two. No one ever got rich, 2 weeks into the NFL season. A lot of people have gone broke at that point. But, it's a long season. And I think what we're looking at is a lot of the same things that, talked about all along is that already there's just a handful of undefeated teams left at this point. Only two undefeateds in the AFC overall. And in the NFC, we've got three undefeateds in the NFC East, three undefeateds in the NFC South, and the 49ers. So two divisions nearly clean sweeped. And then the 49ers. And then in the AFC, though, only the Ravens and the Dolphins are the last men standing. What that all means, I don't know. But we'll find out over time. Al, how's it going?
It's going well. I had a strange week last week here on the podcast. My plays were 3-12 with a push. On the premium side, I went 4-2. So, not kind of a strange thing where, my best plays did okay, but, the other plays, kind of took it on the chin. So I apologize for that. We'll bounce back here this week. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. There's a lot still to find out over the next couple of weeks as to which teams are going to be I think we know which teams are going to be the best teams, but the jury's still out on some of the other teams like Miami. Will they get to 3-0, 4-0, 5-0?
Will Tua stay healthy for 3, 4, 5 games? I think that's one of the bigger questions. I think we also have a bad schedule this week for the fans, which, it doesn't necessarily mean that for the bettors. And we saw that in college football last week where it looked like to be a bad schedule as far as the attractiveness of games. Not a lot of top 25 matchups in college football, but boy, the games and the spreads, it really, they didn't care, who was playing who. They only cared about if it was a chance to make money. So we'll have to see if the NFL presents the same opportunities this week for us. Jay, you got to be disappointed in the way the Cowboys have looked so far. I know your expectations were much higher that they would score at least 50 points in each game and they would hold their opponents to negative yardage. But, outside of that, Dak Prescott, I think he's thrown for 200 yards in each game.
Yeah, rolling right along. Them boys looking good. I got a huge number to lay this weekend. We'll build the suspense up, see if I'll lay that wood here in a little bit. But yeah, last week for me, off the top of my head, I think I was more to even. I want to say 8-7, probably with 2 pushes or something in there. So that's about the week I had. But on the premium side, I went 4-2-1, I believe, over the week. So trying to put it together, man, a winning week. Trying to put together another one, and hopefully we stacking enough of those at the end of the year. We're up big.
I had 2 pushes last week. I pushed on Thursday night, and then I pushed again on Sunday in that Niners Rams game where the line was all over the place. So I ended up being right on the 7 and pushing. So, a push is better than a loss, but that should have been a win. I don't care what anybody says, except for Al, who had the other side and saying he had it all the way.
Did you see McVay? Did you see what McVay said?
What did he say?
What did he say?
He showed his FanDuel ticket. Is that what he did?
He said that the plan was that they were going to have enough time to kick the field goal in the first place. And so once they did not, he just went ahead and sent the field goal kicker out there anyway, and he had no idea about the point spread.
He's a liar.
I don't know. I actually believe that the coaches are so immersed in game planning and all that stuff. They're not looking at.
They put the point spread on everything. It's on the scoreboard in the stadium because there's sports books in the stadium. He's not that oblivious. He's not.
But he might be oblivious to all the movement. So he might have seen earlier in the week.
Let's take a look at his banking records. Then show us your banking records.
I don't think coaches are giving a crap about the points, but to the point where they're actually mindful of it, memorizing.
I believe you. I just need to see the bank statement.
Here's my thought process. Here's what I think. I think that subconsciously he did know the point spread, and he did try to cover it, and because San Francisco has kicked the crap out of the Rams for so long, and
I
and
think
it just made it look better to be a more competitive game. Now, was it because of the point spread necessarily? No, but was it to make the game seem a little more competitive than it might have
But
been?
let me ask you a question. What's the difference? I mean, you've got two choices with 4 seconds left. You could throw a meaningless 20-yard pass into the end zone to try to get a meaningless touchdown, or you can kick a field goal and get a sure 3 points, which may or may not come into place, 15 weeks later in a tiebreaker. From my perspective, why not kick the field goal? I mean, I'm biased because I had the Rams, but still, I mean, like. Well, and also I said this to Mitch a few days ago. He should have been kicking a 56-yard field goal from when they were at the 39 or whatever it was with.
Right. No, that makes sense.
That's what he should have done. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
that
understand.
makes
Like,
sense. That makes
why
sense.
are you exhausting the time? Like, kick it now and then preserve some time for a Hail Mary, pass interference or something.
He didn't do it because he's an asshole. And I think that pretty much was the answer.
Well, then okay, so that proves my point. If he was thinking about the point spread, then he would have kicked it with 20 seconds left in the game, but he wasn't. If he was, right, because you can't have it both ways. If he wanted to cover the spread, then he would have definitely kicked the field goal with 20 seconds left.
Well,
It's
regardless of what he did,
it's interesting.
we saw, Doug Peterson make a move that got him fired in Philadelphia. And, obviously he didn't learn that stupid taking chances just at the worst possible moment is what, is unforgivable. And it's like they look back at the end of the season, the Jaguars, and, say they tie with the Chiefs for the best record and that game ends up being the tiebreak, or they missed the playoffs by one game. And I think that, you look back at one coaching decision, and it made the whole difference in the world. And it was that Jaguars-Chiefs game, about 1:40 left to go in the half, 4th down and 5 from the 50-yard line. They go for it. On 4th and 5, Chris Jones sacks Trevor Lawrence, and, well, then they pay the Patrick price on the other end. 7 points going the other way. In a game that, you punt it away, you pin the Chiefs deep, and sure, Mahomes gets the ball with the whole field to travel, but I like my chances of the Chiefs just getting a field goal there as opposed to just giving Patrick Mahomes the ball basically at your 45-yard line after the Jones sack.
What about, I don't know if I know you try to watch all the games, but did you see the play call by Dan Campbell when I believe they were up over Seattle and they were maybe on their own 30-ish?
Yeah, and they went. They went for it, but they made it. They made it.
No. This was a play where they didn't make it, or did they make it at 4th and 2?
They made it. They made it. Yeah, they made it on their own end.
Campbell was going all year though, so you might as well just expect that with them.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought that was an interesting play call as well. Like, it seems like, the conservative, there's not too much conservatism in the NFL coaching ranks these days. Like, they're doing things that would make Chuck Noll turn over in his grave.
Yeah, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But we've got a lot of action going on this week. We'll get right into the games. It all starts on Thursday night. And in this one, we've got the undefeated 49ers up against the one-win Giants. One of the better comebacks that you'll see was the Giants last week against the 49ers. Al, we've got a double-digit point spread here with the 49ers. Not surprising with the Saquon Barkley injury, but on top of that, the line has actually come down a little bit.
Yeah, I can't turn down the double digits, with or without Barkley. The Giants defense, it's left a lot to be desired so far this season. New York allowed 40 to Jay's Cowboys in week 1. They gave up 28 to the awful Arizona Cardinals last week. But off those 2 defensive games, I look for a much better effort in week 3. And when you take a look at how NFL road teams that are not favored by 3 or more points, they've gone 39-12 ATS in week 3 if they allowed 62 or more over their first 2 games, including the perfect 9-0 with a push ATS off a straight up win. So I'm going to take New York plus the 10 here.
Jake?
This one is easy. I'm taking the Niners. And if we do lose with the Niners, we just lose with the Niners. But there's nothing here that says take the Giants from a football watching perspective. I'm sorry. This is a team that got their doors blown off by my Cowboys. This is a team that was getting dominated in that first half by the team that I have as the worst team in the National Football League in the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, they came back and won that football game, but I think a lot of that was more so to do with the Cardinals don't want to win football games. Be competitive, lose, draft Caleb Williams next year, I think is their legitimate goals for this year. I'm so serious with the Cardinals. With that being said, the Giants also on primetime. Name me the last time you saw them win. Name me the last time you saw them be competitive. They don't do it. Daniel Jones I don't think he has a primetime win under his belt.
I think he does. I think he does.
I don't think he does. I'm legitimate. I don't think he does. Everybody wants look it up. Everybody wants to rag on Kirk Cousins. Oh no. It is Daniel Jones who is absolutely hot garbage in primetime. This 49ers defense flies all over the field, man. You thought the Cowboys made them look bad? Well, I think this is the second best defense in the league, and it's really close to that Cowboys defense, man. I think they have them looking just as bad. And without Barkley, their best weapon, oh, my God. This is a guy getting paid $40 million like he's Mahomes, like he's one of these top-tier quarterbacks, and he is not that at all. Lay the 10, 49ers. Only way I can see it here.
Well, the Giants.
Just real quick, I'm just going back the previous 3 seasons. The Giants are in Monday and Thursday games, interestingly, 0-7 straight up, but 5-2 ATS.
Yep.
Anyway,
I know he don't win on primetime. He don't do it. He
covers the spread on. Hey, this is the first double-digit point spread of the season, by the way. We hadn't had one the first couple weeks. Double-digit dogs were 18-9 ATS last year, for those who are curious.
I'm usually nervous of laying big numbers in the NFL, but in this one, I think is warranted in every aspect. I think the Niners are better than this Giants team in every aspect of the game. Quarterback.
That's why they're favored by 10 points.
Wide receiver group, quarterback, running back, defensive line, defensive backs, everything. I'm taking the Niners. I'm laying the wood.
Yeah, so here's what I'm looking at in this game. I think the point spread is crazy at double digits. There's not a lot you can do with that. And, Barkley being out, it's all factored into the line. But one thing I did notice about these two teams, the first game, the 49ers were up 20-7 at the half. So they're up by 13, and the Giants were losing 26-0 at the half. And then the second game, the 49ers were tied 17-17 at the half. So far this season, the 49ers have scored 37 first half points, and the Giants have scored 0. The 49ers are plus 13 points in the first half, and the Giants are minus 46 points in the first half, which is probably the worst in the NFL. I'm going to go with the 49ers in the first half. It's at 7 right now. There's a 6.5 out there. If you really want to scour and open up a new sportsbook, you can use our sportsbook link, get a bonus or whatever. There is one 6.5 out there, but they're mostly 7s. I think worst case scenario, I push. I mean, on a bad day, I push. On a normal day, I'm up by a lot of points here at halftime. So I'm just going to take the first half. I know it doesn't always work that way, and it probably, to some people, will say that's a super square strategy, but I don't care. Show me that you can put something on the board in the first half, and then we can talk.
It looked like Dayball started calling plays there in the second half against the Cardinals, so they're feeling that pressure. He didn't call in the Cowboys game or the first half against the Cardinals.
Well, we got the Battle of Baltimore. It's the Colts against the Ravens. The Colts, not as hated in Baltimore as they used to be. I think a lot of the old fan base is dead, luckily for them. But you know about the Colts in Baltimore, Jay?
Baltimore Colts?
Yeah, but you know, the whole story?
I don't know the actual, the ins and outs.
They packed up in the middle of the night and left. Like they just packed up everything in the middle of the night, had moving vans waiting. They woke up and their team was gone. True story.
That's crazy.
I know. It's nuts, right? That's how it happened, right, Al? It's like they packed up.
That's how it happened. Yeah, I mean, now They move teams a lot differently these days.
Yeah, they move things differently these days, but that's how it happened. Crazy. So, meanwhile, the Ravens, Baltimore ends up taking a team from another city that's a longtime football city. You know, the Colts, oh, we had the Colts forever and all this other stuff. Then the Baltimore gets a team that's a long-standing team somewhere else. You know, the Cleveland Browns became the Baltimore Ravens. And the new Cleveland Browns are just an expansion team. But the Ravens are the Browns. The Colts are an expansion. No, the Colts are Indy, who moved from Baltimore. Yeah. Anyways, the Ravens are 7.5-point favorites in this one. Colts were my top play of the week last week. Cashed it against, the worst team in the NFL. Jay, what do you think?
I think, is Anthony Richardson, is any word if he's out for this one for you guys? I think he's out with the concussion. I think he's out.
I think it's pretty similar, though, Richardson and Minshew, the way Minshew's playing.
Nah, I don't think so. I think Minshew is a good backup, one of the best backups in the league, but it's a completely different style of game they're playing. And that's why I want to know if Richardson's playing or not. I'm going to say he doesn't. If he doesn't, I would probably grab the points with the Colts in this one. I think the Ravens win 26-20 and falls right on what this total is. I think that's how this game shakes out. I think this Colts team is not that bad. I think they got playmakers on the defensive side of the football that can do a couple things, you know, and especially like in the AFC type battle like this, knowing the history, I think the Colts come to play. Like, this is a Colts team that, like, I can't really put into words why I like this Colts team, because it's not like they have stars everywhere, but they have good quality players everywhere. This is a team that's usually in the middle of the pack, and I think that's where they're at here. I just don't think the Ravens are 7.5 points better. I'm going to grab the points here. I love getting over the hook on the touchdown. 26-20 is how I see this game. So I'm going to grab the 7.5 with Indy.
You saw the Colts play against the worst version of the same team, basically, in week 1 when they played against the Jaguars, who have a serious defense as well. Not quite as good an offense as the Ravens have. And I think that the Ravens' defense is just on a whole nother level. We saw them going to Cincinnati as a dog that really not a lot of people gave them much of a chance in that game, including you. And at the same time, you know, they went in there, they just busted them up. I mean, it wasn't close. It wasn't like they pulled it out on a last-second field goal. They beat them up. I mean, they went there, they beat them up. That defense, oh, man, that Flowers, he's turning into one of the best receivers in the NFL. And it's like with Lamar, the way that Lamar is playing, it's like he's not selling out on not running and he's not selling out on running. He's kind of just taking what the defense gives him, but they're giving him a lot. So it's like it really is working for him. He's almost it's not a jump pass, but it's like where it looks like he's going to run, he stops, takes a step back, and throws it. You know, he's almost at the line. And he kind of leans back, comes forward. These guys are wide open. It's the Mark Andrews play. I don't see how the Colts hang with them. I think this is going to be similar to week 1 for the Ravens, where it might be close in the first half, and then they just bust it wide open.
Well, we've got a split line in this game. It's +8 at Circa, and elsewhere 7.5 at other places. So shop around for the best number. I'm sorry, what, Jay?
I said I like that 8.
Jay's like, give me 7. You can either have 7.5 or 8. I'll take 8.
Good choice, Jay.
That's what it takes to be a professional handicapper right there. That's what separates the pros from everyone else. You know, some other guys might have said just 7.5.
Oh my goodness. So, you know, both of these teams come into this game off division road wins, but if there's a distinguishing factor, it's that Baltimore got revenge against the team which knocked it out of the playoffs last season. So I look for a bit of a letdown here by the Ravens. NFL teams, they're a soft 57-78 ATS following a win over a team which it lost to in the playoffs the previous year. I'm going to take the Colts plus the 8.
26-20.
Got the Browns taking on the Titans. And in this one, the Titans, once again, just about as generic as it gets. It's kind of the one game that, if you have 8 TVs like I do, or 7 TVs, it's kind of the one that you'll watch on the split screen, with another game as opposed to giving it its own screen. And both the first games were exactly like that. But they've played pretty decently in both of them. Not too exciting, but I don't know.
Titan style football is what I would call it.
It's exactly what it was. It never really looks great, but it is effective. Meanwhile, the Browns, oh man, it's like I'd forgotten how much I hated Deshaun Watson until I watched that game on Monday night. I had the Steelers in that game, and I still can't stand Deshaun Watson anymore. It's like, what are you doing? It's like all of a sudden you're like this super athlete, and then all of a sudden when it's crunch time, it's like you're frozen like a deer in the headlights. It's like, what are you doing? That play where Watt scored the touchdown, basically unforgivable under those circumstances to give that up at that point. You protect the football at all times. They're coming. The refs are going to protect you. You protect the football. You got pads on. Wimp. I took the Steelers, and that one I'm going to take the Titans here with the points. I just think, I think the Browns are still the Browns, and the Titans are just the team to make them look bad. They'll drag them down into that ugly game where the Browns are uncomfortable, and because the Browns know it gets into a tight, ugly game that they lose. They got to shake the stigma. I'm going to take the Titans.
Well, I've got good news for you, Mitch. The line on this game in most places now is up to 3.5. It's still 3 at Bet Any. It's still 3 at Bet Any Sports and Bet Online, but virtually everywhere else, including Circa, have it at 3.5. I'm going to lay the 3.5 with Cleveland. They're off an upset road loss. They're now coming home to face an opponent off an upset win. And going back 43 years, single-digit home favorites off an upset road loss. They've covered 62.3% versus opponents off upset wins. The Browns are also 9-5 ATS as a favorite off an upset loss. So I'll take Cleveland minus 3.5 in this game.
I love getting the hook here with Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins this game straight up, though. I'm with Mitch. I'm selling this week. Coming into this week, I'm selling stock on 2 quarterbacks. I'm selling it on Justin Fields. I think he's the 30th first best quarterback in the league. I'm selling on Deshaun Watson. I think he's probably 30th in the league right now. It's that damn bad. Let's call a spade a spade. He's not playing good.
Man.
He stinks. In Houston, he was that guy.
I'm sorry. He's better than Stroud. Stroud's the worst,
he might be slightly better than Stroud. So he might be like 29th. He might be like 29th. But, I mean, in Houston, he was that guy. And I had a lot of hope for him coming to Cleveland, maybe turning the tide.
No, you don't want to have hope. You don't want to have hope, Jay.
Yeah,
hope is a bad thing. It's a bad thing.
It has not looked good. And Cleveland had hope, and it's gone.
Hope will kill you. Hope will
injury to Nick Chubb. And then when you're banking on Amari Cooper to be that guy now, that never pans out. That's why he's no longer in Dallas. I think this defense is for real, but when your quarterback is going to continuously put you in terrible spots, man, I'm sorry. I think I could see the Derrick Henry show here in this one. I'm grabbing the 3 with Tennessee, and I might even take them straight up on the money line if the price is right.
Hope is a terrible thing to have. You just don't want to have any. You want to be hopeless if you can.
All right.
Sports. Al, my philosophy on hope. It's like it makes you stick with things that aren't working. It's like it's like that high school girlfriend. It's like I hope it gets better. It's like get me out of here, man. It's like
the Giants winning the playoff game with Kirk Cousins against Kirk Cousins.
This is how Jordan Montgomery lingers in your starting rotation. It's like, it's like, well, he showed signs that he might be able to get it done. It's like, no, what am I doing? It's bad. Hope is bad, and it's like, gotta get rid of the hope. The Browns have no hope. It's just bad. Next up, Lions against the Falcons. I had the Lions last week. Everybody else had the Seahawks on this show. In fact, Jay and I split a circa card, so I had the Seahawks in my circa card. I gotta say that in the one that we split, I had the Seahawks. I didn't see it coming, but now I get it. The Lions' defense is a sieve. I mean, it is an absolute sieve. But the Falcons are 2-0. I mean, is this a 3-0 team? Al, you're up.
They low key falling into that same mode as last year. Low key.
I just want to quick.
Rangers,
I just want to.
Baker's dozen on the board now.
Yeah, 13. I just want to take a quick look at the current line here to see, where it's sitting at. Sorry about that.
No problem.
3.5. It's 3 at Bet Online, 3 at Westgate, 3 at Sport. Okay, it's mainly 3.5, but there are a lot of 3s out there. So do your shopping. I can't go against Dan Campbell when the Lions are playing an opponent that's not off a loss. They're 13-0 with a push ATS since he's become head coach in that situation. So repeat after me. Do not go against the Lions if the other team is not off a loss.
Is that straight up or ATS?
That's ATS. 13-0 and 1 ATS when the opponent is not off a straight up loss. I'm taking Detroit. Done.
Ooh. I got to go back to the drawing board on this one. I was coming into the show leaning Atlanta. I think Atlanta's underrated. I do. I don't think enough people know how good this team is. I think their defense is where it starts. I think their defense can compete with a lot of defenses in the league. And I think that they're going to give this Lions offense a little trouble. And I think, like Mitch said, the Lions' defensive line is a sieve. And that's a problem when, especially against a Falcons team who their motto this year is play good defense and run the football. And they got a two-headed monster to do that in Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. So I got to go back to the drawing board on this one. But as of right now, I'm taking that 3.5 with the Falcons. But that's a hell of a stat right there from Big L.
I got a question for you, Jay. How do you evaluate Atlanta through the first two games when the two quarterbacks they went up against were Bryce Young and Jordan Love, first year starters?
True. But I'm
just throwing it out there. I'm not saying they're
no.
But I also look at the quality of opponents and
True.
Bryce Young and Jordan Love.
The Packers offense has been clicking though. I actually have, this game was on my TV. That Packers offense, Jordan Love and them look pretty good, and he's still without his weapons. So, and then the second half of that Panthers game, they held the Panthers scoreless. So, I understand your point, and they haven't played some of the top tier guys, but through two games, I've liked what I've seen from their defense. And I think that some of that will be able to translate here onto the road against. Yeah, no,
I'm just saying quality of competition. Detroit played the Super Bowl champions, and they played the Seahawks, who were, if memory serves me correctly, they were a playoff team last year. So
true. And another part of me, it's also still kind of what I said last week about this Lions team. As a dog, man, I love this team. We was cashing tons with this team as a dog, but now. Them in the favorite role, laying these lines, big boy lines, we got to see if they're ready to be that team. And I don't think they're ready to be that team quite yet. Can they get this one done at home? Should they get this one done at home? Yes. I don't know. I'm leaning Falcons right now.
I'm going to take the Lions. I really hate them, though, after last week. I'm more likely to take the over here. I think I'm going to go with the over. I think I'm going to go with the over in all the Lions games this year. And that's only going to the mid to high 50s. This defense is just a sieve. I mean, I looked at last year's defensive numbers, and I just said, you know what? They drafted this Campbell in the first round. He looks to be pretty steady and pretty good. They drafted Gibbs, so they're going to run the football and then try and play the possession game. And no way. You stink. I mean, I gave them hope. It's like, I don't know what I was thinking, man. It's like, you get beat at home by the Seattle Seahawks, man, all bets are off. I'm taking the over. The thing is, like, the difference in the game was a Goff interception. And they're like, of course, they showed the stat like 6 times. Goff hasn't thrown an interception in 410 attempts or something. It's like pick 6. Really was that quick and easy. Saints on the short week now take on the Packers at Lambeau. Saints 2-0 on the season as well. The Packers now 1-1, the easy win over the Bears, and then the loss, heartbreaker to the Falcons. I mean, this one sets up to be pretty close. I like the way the Saints defense looks. I like the receivers. I even think Carr has played respectably. I think you get into these places like Green Bay and these spreads under a field goal, and I'm gonna take the Packers. I just think they're gonna get all the calls, just like the Steelers did. I mean, I have the Steelers. I knew they were gonna get all the calls. It's part of why I take them, and I think the Packers are gonna get every call in the book in this game against the Saints because it's just the Saints. It's just the Saints. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm looking at the screen right now. I don't see any 2.5s. I've got about 35 sportsbooks on my screen. Every single one of them is at 2 exact.
Even
so
better.
that'll be my official line in the game.
Even better.
But yeah.
Yeah, these graphics were made a little while ago. So.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be fair, you know.
Oh, that's fine. The graphics were made a
yes.
little while ago. The lines move. It's all part of it.
Yeah. So, New Orleans comes into this game with one of the 4 best scoring defenses, along with Dallas, Baltimore, and San Francisco. The Saints have allowed just 16 points per game in its wins over Tennessee and Carolina. And that bodes well for them in week 3, as NFL teams have cashed 72% off a win in week 2 if their defense was giving up less than 20 points per game and their opponent was off a straight-up loss. New Orleans also 68-49 ATS as a road underdog off an ATS loss or tie in his previous game. I'm going to take the Saints in this matchup here, plus the 2.
Going back to what Al said about the point spread, I see 2s as well, but I show that the line opened at 3 at Westgate, and then which opens earliest, and then it opened at 1.5 at Circa, and so it's going one direction at one and one direction at the other.
To be honest with you, the Circa openers are kind of garbage because you will see.
They're after the fact.
Or no, Circa openers I think are before the fact. I mean, like they're like, for example, I don't know, like when I look at maybe it's a college odds where it's always whacked, where like Circa's openers will be 3 or 4 points different than everyone else's openers, and I don't even care. I mean, openers don't matter because some of these sportsbooks are opening it before the other games are even played the previous week. So
that's the case, and that's why, especially a team that played on Monday night, like the Saints, that's why you see it factor like that.
Yeah, it's almost better just to look at a line, Sunday around 11 p.m. and use that as the opener rather than Sunday at 2 p.m. or.
Well, put it this way: the Saints are such an afterthought. A guy throws a pass in a championship game to a guy that's wide open. The defender, before the ball's even within 5 yards of him, tackles the receiver, throws him on the ground. They don't call the penalty as pass interference and just gloss right over it like it never happened. That's how insignificant the Saints are to the NFL. They don't care. And meanwhile, you have the royalty, the Green Bay Packers, at home at the the Mecca, Lambeau.
I'm taking the Packers.
They're going to get every call in the book in this game.
And when I've watched both of New Orleans' first 2 games. Nothing was impressive. Nothing. Beat the Titans by a single point. That game was just picture that game in your head, and that's the game that it was. Ugly. A lot of running the football. Saints barely got him in the end in the Superdome. Then they went out on the road Monday night, put me to sleep on my couch against the Carolina Panthers. Oh my God,
That's
I was so
gruesome.
tired.
We had to do the halftime show. We were both sleeping. Everyone's like, "You guys look so tired." It's like, it's
Are you
like,
not
are you
watching the
watching
game
this,
still?
man? It's like we had to end the show early. No one had anything to say. It's like I got nothing to say, man. It's like, let's get out of here.
And it's not like the two offenses they played were electric in Tennessee, Carolina. I think this Green Bay offense is better than both the two offenses they just played. And I think they're going to be tested on the road here in Green Bay. Now, coming into the season, would I have said that about Green Bay? No. But eye test, watching Jordan Love, watching Coach Matt LaFleur actually drop a game plan, they've looked good. And they've done it without arguably their best receiver in Christian Watson, who probably should be back this week. And last week they were without their starting running back in Aaron Jones. I expect them to look like the same Packers in Lambeau Field here this weekend. This is their home opener. They played on the road, Chicago, Atlanta. Lambeau's going to be on 1 million this weekend.
That's actually a negative thing when you play your home opener off back-to-back road games to start the season. Teams don't do very well.
So, have you ever heard of a bad call against the Steelers in Pittsburgh? I've never even heard of one.
In Pittsburgh?
Never. And the Packers, there's only been one bad call against them in team history, and it ended the referee strike. Is basically what happened when the bad call happened. It was the Russell Wilson play in Seattle was against the Packers, and it ended the referee strike because the call wasn't fixed enough in their favor. So it's like, but the Steelers and Packers never get calls against them that decide games. Never, ever, ever.
So Jay, just going back to my point a few seconds ago, teams playing their home opener in week 3 after back-to-back road games are 54 and 80 ATS.
Interesting.
Not good.
Can you pull up teams starting 2-0 now not favored in game 3?
I can pull up anything, but Mitch can talk while I pull it up. So.
Yeah.
We can move on while you guys are talking about this, but we've got the Jaguars against the Texans. These are two divisional rivals in this one, and Al, you're actually first in this one. We could gloss over research into Jay.
Yeah, so the answer to Jay's question, teams off back-to-back wins to start the season, and now an underdog in week 3. They're slightly profitable at 60 and 52 ATS.
Wow, that's not bad. But then again, how many of those were at Lambeau or at Pittsburgh?
Do you want me to? I can look that up later.
I mean, I don't even know why they do go to replay in Pittsburgh. If you challenge in Pittsburgh, there's no reason. Nobody's ever won a challenge in Pittsburgh against the Steelers.
Hey, the worst call I've ever seen in the history of my lifetime was in Lambeau Field. We ain't even got to go talk about it. But,
Dez?
Dez caught it.
Oh, yeah. There's no bad calls against the Packers or Steelers at home. It just does not happen. Does not happen.
Yeah. So this line has come down. It was 10 overnight. Now it's down to 9 at Circa. Mitch has it 9.5 on the board, but you'll see split lines, 9s and 9.5. I'll use 9 as my official
I see
line.
both. Circa is 9.
Yeah.
I see an 8.5 at Bovada, 9 at Westgate. And I see, they're kind of all over the map on this one.
Yeah, that's weird that Bovada is sticking its neck out at 8.5. That's a
they must be,
but
FanDuel New Jersey is also at 8.5.
Yeah.
So
anyway, my official line, I use Circa. I use Circa to grade my game. So I'm, if folks watched the show last year, they will know this. I'm not a big fan of laying a lot of points with teams that don't have a winning record, and especially not against a winless team like Houston. Consider that 500 or worse teams are now 69 and 109 ATS when laying 9 or more points against winless teams. I'm just going to take the 9 with Houston here.
Mitch been trying to convince me that Houston might need to overtake Arizona as the worst team in the league, and he got a legitimate argument. He has a legitimate argument. The problem is this is a division game, and division games in this division are always weird and wonky. Hell, the Texans beat the Jags straight up first game of the year last year. Second game, the Jags then stomped them. It's just it's hard to say which one we're gonna see. Now, if I'm handicapping the game, like if I'm just gonna tell you based off the players on the field, I would lay the 10 with the Jags at the crib. I think the Jags have a legitimate chance to be the number one seed in the AFC, and I think the Texans could mess around and be the worst team in the AFC. I think that's how big of a discrepancy there is in talent. But like Big Al said, man, I'm usually nervous about laying double digits, and this is one that I'm not going to be rushing to the window to do it.
All right. Well, I got news for you guys. I've had 2 weeks of NFL football. Each week I've had a top play of the week, and each week I have picked whoever was playing the Houston Texans, and I'm probably going to do the same this week. No reason not to. The Texans haven't been within a whiff. I mean, not even a whiff of a cover this season. They got absolutely blown the doors off of by the Ravens. And then I got to tell you, the Colts just put a hammer on them in Houston following it up. Now they go back on the road against a Jacksonville team that lost to the Chiefs last week and have an asshole of coaches. I don't think there's going to be he cares about the handshake with DeMeco Ryans at all. I think this guy cares about running up the score and being a jerk, because that's what Doug Peterson is. Look for the Jags to just run it up on the Texans. Stroud is just hideous, and against this Jaguar defense, which we saw it, Al, you saw it with me, that goal line stance against the Colts, knocking Richardson out and then stuffing Minshew right at the goal line to preserve the cover at the end. And then last week against Kansas City, you take out that Patrick Mahomes 45-yard touchdown drive before the half, it's a tie game. I mean, or close to it, right? It's like. It's
safe to say this one might make our circle.
Yeah, well,
yeah. I just want to I appreciate your points, Mitch, but just one. I'll just play devil's advocate. Take a look at how teams do in week 3 off back-to-back losses if they fail to cover the spread by 10 points each game. In other words, like this Houston team not being within a whiff of covering the spread, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those teams in week 3 bounce back. They're 34-22 ATS, 25-13 as an underdog when priced from 7 to 10. They are 8-1 ATS, 7 to 10.5, 9-1 ATS. I don't know. I mean, I think this could be an overreaction from the first 2 games. People might get sucked in. Just my 2 cents.
It could be, but if you look at the way Stroud plays quarterback, and you just got to figure that he hasn't really lit up the scoreboard for the defense yet. We just haven't seen the pick sixes go against him yet. So we've got a couple in the bank for us there that are going to. It's not if, it's a matter just of when. And I think that with this pass rush that the Jaguars have, I think he's going to be in trouble. He's about as bad as it gets. One of the worst NFL starting quarterbacks I've seen since Ryan Leaf. I mean, he really is that bad. Don't cut him short. Don't give him the benefit of the doubt that he plays on the Texans or that first year coach or any of those other things. No, this guy is terrible, terrible. I mean, he is terrible. I actually think that Nico Collins is a pretty good wide receiver, who I would way rather have than Jerry Jeudy, as most people on our morning show know. But the thing is that I just don't see it. I don't see the Texans coming within a whiff of anybody. I think the Texans are going 0-16 this year.
What about 0-17?
0-17, 0-whatever. Rapid. How'd they do in the? How did they do it in the? In the preseason, did they win any of those games? Carry those in.
Texans, yeah, I had them as my NFL preseason game of the year, and they beat some team. I forget they beat them.
I think I had them week 1. I had one.
They beat Tennessee State.
I want to say they beat New Orleans or someone. I can't remember, but they did well in the preseason. But that's preseason. Doesn't count.
They
They
stink.
beat the Patriots in the preseason. They beat
I want to say they beat New Orleans.
They got no
they
answers.
lost to the Dolphins, and then they beat the Saints 17-13. Last game of the preseason.
I mean, Stroud hasn't thrown an interception yet. He's so due. 58 of 91, 63.7%. Yet they haven't gotten a whiff of the lead. Devin Singletary's a nice back, but it's like once you're out of the game, there's nothing you can do. Pierce, 2.7 yards per carry. Singletary, 2.6 yards per carry. Unguaguli, 2 yards per carry. Beck, 1 yard per carry. And Noah Brown, minus 1 yard per carry. They don't have a back that averages, their high back is 2.7 yards per carry with a rookie QB. You stink. You can't run the football. You can't win games. You can't even come close. I don't like the Texans. I'm going to Jags. I'm going to just go against the Texans every single week until they show me not to. I think that we're going to, this is crazy. Roll back a week ago, right, to the Colts-Texans game. I got the Colts in that game as a dog. What are the chances of me getting anybody as a dog against the Texans over the next 18 weeks or whatever the case may be? It's not going to happen. That was our high point. That was our Trey Lance opportunity. Game of the week, you know. I could have made it my game of the year. Anthony Richardson, he had 2 touchdowns. He left, midway through the first quarter. They didn't even need any more points. They had already won the game at that point and covered because they were getting. Oh, man, terrible. It's bad. Doug Peterson's a real jerk face, man. He's gonna be a real idiot about this. Though he is also the type of guy that will, for no apparent reason,
The Texans will be favored November 17th versus Arizona.
I don't think so. I like Arizona in that one.
You like Arizona?
Yeah.
Through what I've seen thus far this year, too, I'm taking Arizona.
I'm not taking the Texans once all season.
I'm just predicting the Texans will be favored. That's all.
That's okay.
Yeah. What week is that?
I don't know what week. It's November 19th.
I'm going to start putting away I'm going to start a fun jar on my desk, and I'm just going to put, every time I walk by, I put 10 or 20 bucks in, and then by the time it comes to that Texans-Cardinals game, I'll put it have all that money to bet on the Cardinals. I wonder if there's a future line on it.
Week 11.
Week 11. We can start hitting that future line now. Mitch Sharp trading plays. Sharp Mitch plays. Fade the Texans' ass till the wheels fall off. Terrible. Well, we got another bad team with a bad coach. Sean Payton, Mr. Overrated. Is it Russell Wilson? Is it Sean Payton? Is it Russell Wilson and Sean Payton? Either way, I love watching the Broncos lose, and I'll tell you, they've been doing it in embarrassing fashion. It went from bad to worse, from a 1-point loss to the Raiders, who, we saw. So the Bills beat the Raiders by 40, and then the Raiders beat the Broncos by 1, so that means the Bills would beat the Broncos by 41. The Dolphins, here, back-to-back wins coming off a Sunday nighter on the road in New England. Not a place where they've traditionally played well. At home against the Broncos, it's going to be about 175 degrees at this game. 1 o'clock start in Miami. The Broncos have dark blue uniforms, right? Is one of their sets of uniforms? Or is they orange?
I thought they were orange, but I don't even.
They might have dark blue ones too. I would guess if the dark blue is available, they'll be wearing those. The Dolphins have the opportunity to put them in them for that 1 o'clocker. They will do it. They love putting the Saints and the Raiders in those black uniforms at the 1 o'clock games. It is going to be muggy. Now, one thing that I've been watching is there's some serious storm systems on the East Coast. Not quite hurricanes, but very, very close. Torrential rains that are expected up the East Coast, running from the Carolina area all the way up through New England for this weekend. Have you heard anything about this, Al?
I have not.
Yeah, check the Weather Channel, check everything, because it is supposed to be just an absolute shit show. But I don't know if it's going to extend as low as Miami or not. But it is supposed to be about as bad as it gets. Like, without it being a hurricane, like, as bad as it can possibly get. Like monsoons. So we got the Dolphins -6 in this one against the Broncos. Who's up? Jay?
Barring any weather, I'm taking the over.
It's up to 6.5. I even see a 7 out there as well.
Yeah, barring any weather, I'm taking the over in this football game. I see some points. The Dolphins, they've played in high-scoring games. I think they're going to play in high-scoring games all year, even if Waddle doesn't play this week. I still think they're going to be a high-scoring game. And here's a stat that I'm pretty sure most of you guys don't know. You ready? It's not even Russell Wilson. It's not Russell Wilson that's the problem this year. It's this damn Broncos defense. The Broncos offense leads the National Football League in points per possession. The Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson. What that means is their defense is just on the field for a lot of the game and don't give their offense a lot of time to have the ball. And when they do have the ball, they're scoring points. I think their defense is going to be on the field again a lot. I think the Dolphins score at will. I think that Russell Wilson and company can do enough to score some points in this game to make it slightly competitive. I think the line is right where it should be. I would lean towards the Dolphins, but I think the best play in this one is just to take the over. I think points are going to come all game.
The Dolphins have traditionally played in a lot of close games and have played down to their competition over the years. Games ending up being a lot closer than they probably should have been on paper, even when the team's good, and losing to in games that that they shouldn't. But I don't know. That win in New England looked pretty damn good to me, and that win in Los Angeles against the Chargers looked even better. This is a little bit of a different of a Dolphin team, and I think last week playing without Phillips on the pass rush, if he's back, Wilson's dead, man, because he can play serious contain, and when Wilson goes for that wide rollout or whatever, he's going to be rolling right into this guy, and that is really just a bad place to be. I think that the Dolphins secondary, Xavier Howard, the interception of Mac Jones last week, one of the plays of the week. I mean, he just made him look stupid, and I gotta say, I gotta agree with Jay on what he's been saying for 2 years now. Russell Wilson looks done. He looks just done. And Sean Payton, he don't look any better. He looks done too. Taking the Dolphins, my home team.
I tell you, Miami was saddled with a really difficult schedule to open the season. You had at the Chargers, at the Patriots. They've got this home game. Then they're at the Buffalo Bills in week 4. So we're going to find out a lot about Miami early on. I think they've looked really good so far. I just don't think this is.
They're in my top 5 right now. Teams in the league.
I just think this is. I just think it's too many points. That's all. I think Miami's a really, really good team. I think if they win the game straight up here, I think they're going to have a hell of a chance to beat Buffalo the next week and be 4-0. But as I mentioned, a little while ago when we were talking here, I'm just leery of taking teams in their home opener in week 3. They just don't do well. And when you get a team that's 2-0, that's favored by 7 or less points, those teams have covered just 33% in their home opener in week 3. We saw this same situation last season. The Tampa Bay Bucks opened with road wins against Dallas and New Orleans. They then come home in week 3 and they were upset by the Packers. Now you're getting 6.5 points with Denver. It's a lot of points. I'm going to take the points with Denver. It's a tough game, but I'm going to take them.
Home opener in Miami. Let's see what the Weather Channel has to say about this one. Yeah, I think the weather in the college and the NFL schedule, really, really check it if you're going on East Coast. It's a system in the Atlantic, and this is a subtropical storm depression this weekend up the entire east coast of the country. It is going to be a real shit show. I mean, like, they're talking like, 10 inches of rain in an hour type stuff, like big time. So, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Anyways, of course, it's the Dolphins for me.
Over. Let's go, Russ.
Al's taking
back
the Broncos
this week.
Sean Payton apologist.
Let's ride.
Al's Super Bowl pick is up next. They have not, been. See, are you trying to wholesale out that Super Bowl? That's
No.
Future.
You know
No,
what?
no.
I think this is the game of the week. The 2-0-2 teams.
Ever since Jay became the Kirk Cousins fan, the Vikings decided to call it quits. And as soon as Al put in that Super Bowl future on the Chargers, they decided to stop playing.
Well, no, they played all the way through. I mean, one game goes into overtime, the other game,
they played
was a
terrible
coin
in the
flip.
overtime. They played terrible in
Yeah.
overtime.
I mean, they deserve to be 0-2, but I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't say they quit playing. I wouldn't say they're playing poorly. They just haven't played as well as their opponents. That's all. So, who's up? Who goes first?
Mitch.
I'm first.
Mitchy Pucks.
This is a tough one. I just, I look at this Vikings team and I just say, who's playing defense on this team? Because I don't recognize any of these people's names. Maybe Harrison Smith, but he's been there too long, to be a name. But it's like, I don't recognize anybody. And the running back that they have instead of Dalvin Cook, he looks okay, but he's not like Dalvin Cook was, like a home run hitter. And Jefferson, the other teams, they don't feel like they have to cover Osborne or anybody else, not nearly as tight. Hawkinson, they gave him that giant contract. Yeah, the Vikings are in deep shit this year, especially if they lose this one at home. It is a tough building, no doubt about it, right? Let's go. But I'm going to go Chargers. I'm going to give Al a little love, even though he picked against my Dolphins.
Excuse me. I'm looking at the Chargers schedule. I mean, they have some tough games coming up, but they do have an opportunity to right the ship if they can win this game here. Big if, but if they can win this game and move to 1-2, they play at home versus the Raiders, and they should be able to win that game in week 4. They have a tough game against Jays Cowboys, but it is in LA at SoFi. Then they play the Chiefs, but after that, it's 2 easy games. It's against the Bears and the Jets. So we'll have to see. But they need to start their season this week and win this game. I'm going to take them. I think the third time is going to be the charm for Brandon Staley's men. Teams off back-to-back point spread losses as a favorite to start the season. They've gone 61.9%. In week 3 if they were not undefeated on the season. That bodes well for the Chargers, as does the fact that LA is now 80-36 ATS on the road if it had a losing record. So I'm going to take the Chargers to notch their first win of the season, take them minus the 1 point.
Oh!
They're going to invite Jay to blow the horn before the game.
I'm taking Minnesota in this one. This is a 50-50 game, though. I really think it's a 50-50 game. Both teams need it. Both teams, postseason teams from last year, both teams should have won their first game. Both teams lost week 1. Head scratchers, honestly, in the playoffs last year. These two teams are very similar, have quarterbacks that are good but might be slightly overrated, put up a lot of good numbers, have really good receiving cores, but their defenses give up a ton of points. So I like Minnesota at home. Minnesota usually gets it done at home, man. This Chargers team just loves to find ways to lose this game, but it's another game I like the over. We've seen points from both of these two teams all year. What stops now? I don't think anything. I think both defenses are civ. I think both quarterbacks continue to fill their empty stats, and I think that I think that's how this game goes. So over and a lean to the Vikings.
Line's all over the place on this one. Right now, you can get the Vikings plus the point if you shop it. Half a point, kind of all over the map.
This might be a total type week for me.
Brings us to an AFC East battle. Al, this one's you. It's the Jets and the Patriots. I think everyone was kind of hoping it was going to be Aaron Rodgers playing. I think a lot of this, these games have been based upon Aaron Rodgers. But this one's Jets against the Patriots. And Bill Belichick's team did not look good on Monday. They are now 0-2 as well. I don't know. They look terrible.
Yeah. They were underdogs the first two games. Failed to cover the spread in each. NFL teams that failed to cover the spread the first two games as underdogs, they then, if they switch to a favorite in week 3, they've cashed 62%. Here's a stat. I think Jay's going to like this one. New England now 16-0 ATS in the regular season on the road off a straight-up home loss if they're not favored by 7 or more points. We all know how well, or how poorly, I should say, the Jets are at home. 68-120 ATS at home against
But
foes
beat
that
the
don't own a
Cowboys.
winning
But
record.
they did beat the Cowboys. They played them at home.
They did. Or no, they beat the Bills at home.
Yeah, but last year they beat the Cowboys.
I don't know. That's right. Was that the game? 34-31? Was that the game? No, that was they beat the Bengals 34-31. I don't remember the Cowboys at all.
Oh, I do.
I don't think we played them last year. We didn't play them last year.
2 years ago?
I don't remember.
Pretty sure it was.
They had a huge win at home last year against the Bengals, 34-31. Anyway, short number, 2.5 points. I'll take New England off the loss.
I'm taking New England. This is easy. I'm taking New England. Zach Wilson's the quarterback for the Jets. We got Bill Belichick starting 0-2. Oh man, he ain't gone to sleep yet, thinking about all the different ways he's gonna attack Zach Wilson. Just is what it is. I watched that game from start to finish last week, and I don't think the Patriots defense is in the same stratosphere as the Cowboys defense, but I do think Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator can dial some things up. He got some playmakers on that side of the football, like Judon. Yeah, it's Patriots or nothing for me here in this one. It's Mac Jones, I think, in the offense should be able to run the football, play ball control, play Patriot-style football to win this one. And now at 2.5, under 3, I love it. Give me the Pats. Land the points.
Mac Jones is easily in the discussion as the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. He sucks. He can't throw the ball more than 6 yards. And I think 6 is a stretch. I think it's closer to 5.5. He's terrible. He is terrible. He's a poor. And the thing is that he comes out of the Alabama system. He's coached by Saban. He's coached by Belichick. So he's supposed to be a real smart quarterback that makes good decisions. That pass where Howard intercepted it on the sideline didn't look like such a smart decision at all. In fact, it was at the 7-yard line. And Mac Jones, he didn't even realize that the guy was standing right there. He didn't even see him. It's like, you stink, man. So they're going to continue to give the ball to Stevenson. And it's like, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, Jay was picking the Jets to win the division, saying how good their defense was and all that stuff. Now he's saying Mac Jones is going to carve them up. That ain't going to happen. The Jets, when you think of this roster and you take out Zach Wilson, right? And you say,
they have a Hall of Fame quarterback.
All you got to do is manage it. But if you have a good enough team, and the Jets line is bad, right? And we knew that going in. But it's like, you look at the skill position players, and this is what you were saying. I'm just going by what you were saying. No, I didn't say it. You said it. Breece Hall, we got Dalvin Cook, we got Garrett Wilson. Jay, they become the we, right? Jay's teams are the we.
Breece Hall had 4 carries last week against the Cowboys. What kind of offensive game plan is
it means that you're behind. It means you're behind. It means you're behind.
The Dallas defense is the worst thing.
Oh, they learned something from it. They're going to run them this week.
I can't trust
them.
Nathaniel Hackett. I can't trust Nathaniel Hackett to draw shit up. I can't. I'm sorry. I've seen this guy last
this week.
Terrible.
They're saving them. They're saving them for this week.
No, man. And Nathaniel Hackett versus Bill Belichick. I'm sorry. I'm taking Bill every single time.
Mac Jones against anybody. I'm taking anybody except for the Texans. Favored on the road. They're 0-2, man. The Jets are one at home. Jets are undefeated at home this season. Getting points. Aaron Rodgers didn't play in that game. He played 4 plays. This is the best game of the week, not that Vikings-Charger. It's this one. The Commanders against the Bills. The Bills woke up at home stomping the Raiders. That was one where I had it in my circuit picks with Jay, but meanwhile I had a premium pick on the other side. Then the Commanders, I mean, it's never going to look pretty, but man, it looks, right, when they get it done. Al, what do you think?
Your guy Chase Young back played last week.
I can't back Buffalo off that 28-point blowout win. I'm going to take a home team. Winning home dogs, 99 and 60 ATS versus foes off a 15-point or greater blowout win. It's a lot of points. Got to take Washington.
You going to change your mind on that Patriots-Jets game also?
I'm taking Washington here as well. This Bills team is not good. They're not that damn good, is what I'll say. They're not that damn good. Good,
they're pretty good.
Yes, that's what I said. They're good, yes, but not that damn good. I think this Washington defense can create some of the problems that the Jets created. Josh Allen has those games where he looks absolutely terrible, then he goes back home and he's able to find his guys like Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis. But on the road, man, I think he's going to struggle kind of like he did week 1. I think the Commanders have shown a lot of resolve this year. That they came here to compete. I know that they barely beat the Cardinals, and then last week came back and got those Broncos because they were down 21-3 at half. So I think the offense is underrated with Scary Terry. I think Sam Howell's pretty damn good. I think with Eric Bieniemy, one of the best OCs in the league, man, they're underrated. I think this defensive line with Chase Young back and get after Josh Allen. Josh Allen probably going to have a late interception. And I think the value's on the Commanders plus the point.
I'm on the Commanders also. I just think that's going to be a closer game than this number, and I think it could go either way. But I think this is one of those like last second field goal type games, you know. So I'm going to roll with the last second field goal or overtime. I'm going to go with the Commanders in this thing. We move on. Seahawks against the Panthers. Now, we can make an argument for the Panthers to be in that discussion with the Texans. Jay, what do you think?
I'm going back to the Panthers in this one. I was on the Seahawks last week simply because I thought it was just overreaction to week 1. Lions laying a big boy number. Seattle not as near as bad as they lost to the Rams. I think the Rams are more improved than many people understand. And now after beating the Lions, I think many people think, okay, Seattle, this is a Seattle team from last year. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Geno is a bottom tier quarterback. I think this defense has some holes. I think the Panthers compete. I'm 24-20. See Seattle in this one. I mean, this Panthers team, we saw them compete with the Saints at home in that one. It didn't look good. Bryce Young doesn't look all that amazing. He doesn't have a whole lot of weapons, but I think their defense can do enough to keep them in this football game. 24-20 Seattle. So give me the points with the Panthers.
I'm on the other side. I'm on Seattle. I think that if the Texans aren't the worst team, the Panthers are. And I think if Stroud's not the worst QB, then Bryce Young is. I think these are two terrible young quarterbacks. And I understand Bryce Young was taken 1 overall, and you could say, well, those guys, the 1 overall rarely ever bust out. 2 overall bust out all the time. But 1 overall rarely does, except, well, Baker Mayfield. And, well, we could go down the list. There's been a few. But I just don't see it. Seattle lost that home opener against the Rams. I don't think the Panthers are really in the same class as the Rams. They don't have the star players, and I don't think they have much else either. I'm going to take the Seahawks here. I like those wide receivers too.
Well, Bryce Young missed practice, ankle injury, questionable to play. That's why the line's up to 6.
He gonna play.
I don't know. But I'm going to take the points. I think this is. I think this. I kind of agree with
You don't
everything
sound
that Jay
convinced.
said.
You don't sound convinced.
No, I mean, like, my mindset's very similar to what Jay was thinking. I thought Seattle was in a perfect setup last week following its upset loss to the Rams and the Lions' upset win over the defending champion Chiefs. So, I was more than happy to take the points last week with Seattle. But now you're laying points. And, one of the things that concerns me, if you take a look at the rushing stats of these two teams, Seattle's gained 167 yards on 43 carries or 3.88 yards per rush. In contrast, the Panthers are doing really well on the ground, 254 yards on 51 carries or 4.98 yards per rush. So that's 1.10 better than Seattle. Take a look at how rushing underdogs do when when you get an underdog that averages at least 1 yard per carry more than the opponent. Those underdogs have gone 369 and 284 with 22 pushes ATS. It's up to 6. I just wish it was 7. Maybe you'll get there on Sunday, but we got to make our pick today. So I'll take Carolina plus the 6.
Cardinals against the Cowboys. I think, when you have a team that has this much hype around them, the way the Cowboys are, and as bad as the Cardinals have been, well, going to always be value on the dog. I mean, it's always going to be. I'm not saying the Cowboys are going to lose or anything like that. I'm just saying I'll take my dozen and take my chances with the crappiest team around next to the Texans. How about you, Al?
I mean, it's like broken record here. I talked about it all the time last year. Whenever you get a double-digit home underdog, I mean, when you're a double-digit home dog, it's a really good road team and a really bad home team, right? I mean, the disparity is, these are the garbage teams of the NFL to be a double-digit home dog historically, and yet they've gone 128 and 100 ATS over the last 43 years. I just won't fade them. I might not put them on the premium side. They might not be an official play or whatever, but I would rarely, if ever, take a double-digit road favorite in the NFL. It's just not, the numbers just don't, warrant it.
I'll have one in my circa picks. You don't have to worry about that.
Who are you going to have?
Well, my ticket, my one with Jay, I imagine it's going to be this one.
Oh, you're going to take the Cowboy? Oh.
I'm not going to. Are you kidding?
I get it.
I don't have to take the Cowboys in mind even if I want them. I don't have to take it.
Right. Yeah, anyway, you got to dance with the person who, whatever. Anyway, the Cardinals, they're 68 and 44 ATS at home off back-to-back losses. So I'm going to take the double digits with Arizona. Why not?
All right. This is legit. I have said I got the Cardinals as the worst team in the National Football League. And I got the Cowboys like top 3. Maybe 1. So this is like the best team in the league versus the worst team in the league. The problem here, this is the problem, and this is why I told you I was nervous about this game. Everything Big Al's saying is true, and it always seems to have a funny way of playing out. But the thing is, the Cardinals have been competitive. They have been competitive. Both teams they played were NFC East opponents. Those teams are built to play this Cowboys team. So it's just something to look at, man. This Cardinals team is the worst team in the National Football League. But my Cowboys, man, these are the type games where they come here and go through the motions. These are the games. These are the games. All that said, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take the Cowboys late at 12. But I'm going to take the under. I don't see the Cardinals scoring. It's hard for me to see the Cardinals scoring. It is. I think this Dallas defense is on that level, And if they come into this game with that mindset that they're not going to allow the Cardinals to score, the Cowboys should win this game 24-0. Like, it should be an absolute rout. So that's my stance. I'm gonna say that the Cardinals don't score any points. I'm gonna say that this is the best defense in football. I'm gonna say that this is the same defense that has created the most turnovers in back-to-back years in the NFL. You don't see that very often. This defense
second week of the season.
No, back-to-back years in a row. Back-to-back years. 2 years in a row, they've now led the National Football League in turnovers.
Last year and the year before?
Yes. Dallas Cowboys. And they're better this year, adding Stephon Gilmore and crew. Going up against the worst quarterback.
Gilmore sucks. I don't care. You can say anything you want about that stuff. Gilmore's been one of the most overrated players in the NFL for as long as he's been there. This guy is just a mugger, is all he is. He doesn't get called.
I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to lay the 12.
Mugger.
Am I enthused about laying the 12? I'm not, but I really do think
we already had you marked for Cowboys before the show even started.
I know, but I got to talk them through the thought process. I don't want them to think I don't handicap the game, because I do.
Are we done?
2-0 ATS teams.
Okay, just checking. Okay, Alex, Justin Fields show in Kansas City. You got a matchup of two of the best quarterbacks in the league, Justin Fields and Patrick Mahomes.
Bears disappointed me last week. I loved them against Tampa, and they sucked. Anyway, they're 0-2 straight up against a spread. They had the 18-point loss against Green Bay in week 1. Last week, also a double-digit loss. Meanwhile, Kansas City 1-1 straight up and ATS. I like underdogs in week 3 off back-to-back double-digit losses. They've covered 63% since 1980. I'm going to take Chicago plus the points.
I hate laying double digits. It's kind of like I just was trying to get there with the Cowboys in that last game. I want to be on the Cowboys in that last game, and I want to be on the Chiefs in this game. But it's like, ew. Justin Fields is arguably the worst quarterback in the league. Like, I think he's right above Joshua Dobbs, and that might be it. Like, I'm telling you,
I think Stroud and Mac Jones are far worse than him.
No, I don't think so. His record as a starting quarterback in the NFL now is like 5-25. He is that.
He's played on horrible teams.
This team this year ain't bad. He has.
He's 5-25 straight up, but how many of those games was he favored to win? Probably 5.
It don't matter. You're a number 3 pick in the league. Like, this guy's fucking terrible.
Not worse than Stroud or Bryce Young or Mac Jones.
Yes, he is. Like, those guys throwing the football, I trust them more. I think he's the worst quarterback throwing the football in the entire National Football
Jones
League.
Can't throw the ball 6 yards.
Mac Jones can throw the ball. Like, he can't run it all, so he has to be able to throw the ball in some capacity.
He can't.
He can't.
No, we haven't seen him. Then why doesn't he do it?
He does.
When?
Have you watched Chicago? When does Justin Fields?
When does Mac Jones throw the ball more than 6 yards? Because he had a 3rd or 4th and 8 with the game on the line. He threw it 2 yards short. He leaned into it too.
At least he threw it. This guy's gonna take a sack or try to run for it on 3rd and 20. I'm taking the Chiefs.
A gifted athlete.
I'm taking the Chiefs. He's gonna cost them the game his damn self. Chris Jones is gonna have a strip sack. Give me the Chiefs. I'm gonna lay the wood.
I'll tell you what. This is one of those games where the Bears cover, and it's like some kind of ugly ass Justin Fields run in garbage time. And I'm telling you, that's exactly what's going to happen because we saw the same play happen against the Eagles.
I could see it happening, Mitch. I could, but I can't bet on it to happen with Justin Fields. I can't. Ew, fuck him.
He's not bad.
He's terrible.
Could be worse, man.
It's going to be the one where they paid the Patrick Price early. It's going to be one of them games where you're sitting there like, how did I even think that Justin Fields was going to come out here and compete with Patrick Mahomes? It's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those, man. It's going to be 24-0 at the end of the first quarter, and it's going to be bad. I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm laying the wood.
We go to Vegas. Raiders against the Steelers. Jay, it's
Me.
It's you. Oh, that's what happens. See ya. Too much Dak Prescott for him. Got away from him. There's one of two things that could have happened here. One is his camera overheated. It's back.
It died. It wasn't plugged up. But this is a tough one. This is a really, really tough one. The Raiders did me bad last week, but I'm not going to overreact to that game. Buffalo needed that game after how bad they looked on Monday night. Like, if Buffalo didn't win in that fashion, I think their fans might still be outside the stadium rioting. I'm passing on this game for the weekend, me personally. But for the lean, I'm going to take the Steelers. But I think this is one of the toughest games. I like both of these teams a lot. I think these two teams are similar. I understand why the Raiders are favored here because the Raiders are a pretty good damn football team. They got a top 3 running back or top 5 running back, top 5 receiver, a quarterback that wins a lot of regular season games in Jimmy Garoppolo, back with his head coach in Josh McDaniels, has a legitimate defensive line. They looked good to start that game last week. It just kind of fell apart moving down the stretch. I'm going to lean Steelers because I can see TJ Watt kind of wrecking this game kind of how he did on Monday. He's one of those top 3 defensive guys in the league, even though Max Crosby's top 5 as well. It's a tough game, however you slice it. I'm a slight lean to the Steelers getting the points for me in this one just because they're getting the points.
You got the home opener versus the road opener in this one. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Al has got a stat for us, but I'm still going to take the
18-6.
The home team?
No, road teams are 18-6 in their road opener in week 3 versus a team playing the home opener in week 3.
Oh, really? Wow.
Give me the Steelers. Give me the Steelers. Yeah, give me the Steelers.
I'm taking the Raiders.
You haven't liked the Raiders week 1 or 2, and now you like them?
Well, what about – I liked them in week 1. I took them against the Broncos. On the show. Yeah, of course I did. And okay. I didn't like him in week 2 because I didn't like the spot against the Bills. But here against the Steelers team on a short week, I still, we look at that Steelers game against the Browns and how many touchdowns are the defense going to score this season because the offense can't do anything. They did nothing in that game. The defense scored the opening touchdown and the game winner. I'm going to take the Raiders. I like Devontae Adams better than Jerry Jeudy for sure.
We talked about this last year. I don't know if you guys remember, but the Raiders are a horrible favorite. The last time they've actually had a winning season, overall in their favored games was 2016. Going back further, they're 29-58-1 ATS. Their last 88 games when favored. In contrast, Pittsburgh is an underdog, just money, 78-42 ATS with 6 pushes, including 42-18-4 ATS as a short favorite when they're getting 3 points or less. I've got to take the 2.5 with Pittsburgh.
All right, next up. Monday Night Football doubleheader. No one wants to play on Monday night anymore. It's had major injuries in the last 3 Monday nights that there's been football. DeMar Hamlin, Aaron Rodgers, and Nick Chubb. This week, it's game 1, Bucs and the Eagles. I'm showing 5s mostly across the board. I do see a 4.5 at DraftKings, but mostly 5s. In this thing for the Eagles laying the 5 and total 45.5 46s as well. So it's me, I think.
You go ahead.
I generally like the Eagles a lot, but the same thing I've been saying about the Bucks all along. I mean, this team is really not that horrible, and Baker Mayfield is playing with like a chip on his shoulder that he's like looking for redemption. And they have some good players on this team, especially on the defense. I think this is one of those games that I think the Eagles might win, but I think 5 points is a lot. I'm going to go with the home dog here on Monday night in the early matchup, 7:15. I don't know what the record is on Monday night doubleheaders, home dogs, favored by or getting more than a field goal. But I'm going to try my luck with it. I'll create my own trend, taking the Bucks.
Well, I mean, historically, as you know, Mitch, home dogs have done well on Monday. I'm going to join you. I'm going to take Tampa Bay as well. Take a look at how undefeated teams do as a road favorite on Monday Night Football, 39.5%, including 2-11 ATS versus opponents off a straight up and ATS win. So Tampa, playing very well so far. I'm just going to grab the points with the Bucks.
But two undefeated, so someone's always got to go.
I'm 1-1 trying to fade these Eagles this year. 1-0-1 trying to fade these Eagles this year. Because I pushed with them Vikings this past week. And I still feel like, man, the Patriots should have just kicked my field goal. But hey. Let's sweep it. Give me the Bucks in this one as well. I think that the weakness for this Eagles team is the secondary, and I think that's a strength for the offense of Tampa with these weapons. I think when has Mike Evans been at his best? When he has a quarterback that can just throw it to him. Just throw me the ball. I got you, and let's roll. And that's what Mike Evans did at A&M, and he made Johnny Manziel. And that's what he's doing here with Baker. As Mike Evans went absolutely bonkers last week, and he's in a contract year, so he's trying to get paid. Mike Evans and the Bucks are not going to re-sign him, so he's going to be somewhere else next year, trying to ball out with Baker, get paid, and I think he's going to do it. And I think he gets behind this Eagles secondary that is lacking. They lost a lot of guys over the offseason, lost some guys due to injury, lost both coordinators. They just don't seem to have that same oomph like they had last year. And that's usually what happens to the Super Bowl team that lost. They lose a lot of guys, and they usually just can't sustain that same level. I'm taking the Bucks.
Lost a lot of good men out there. Got the Bengals and the Rams wrapping it up. Our last game of the show, last game of the week. This line, big drop, and that's got to be with Joe Burrow not playing. Al, what do you think?
Well, it's unclear whether or not he will play. It's now, Mike Garofalo from NFL Network, he tweeted this morning that indications are that Burrow is feeling better after 2 days of rest. I think this is going to be one of those deals where he can play, but that doesn't mean they will play him. You've got a guy who's making $55 million a year, highest paid player in the league, and do the Bengals, even if he quote unquote is healthy enough to play, and I know they're 0-2, but do you want to risk the team and his long-term interests for one game rather than maybe just give his calf injury an extra week to heal? You could put Jake Browning in and be competitive against the Rams team, right? So I don't know. This is a tough game because you don't know what they're going to do. But I'm going to take the Bengals over the Rams, even if Browning is under center. The Bengals off back-to-back upset losses. They've done well off back-to-back losses recently, 9-2 ATS. So this is one of those games. It's a difficult one when you don't know who's going to play. But at -2.5, I guess you got to take the Bengals, and maybe you get the bonus plan if Burrow suits up, because if he suits up, it's not going to be 2.5 on Monday. So we'll take the Bengals.
I had the Bengals in my Super Bowl to begin the year. My Super Bowl was Cowboys Bengals, and I'm here to tell you in Week 3 that it's already out the window. Bengals season
So
is
is my
over.
Chargers, maybe. So,
The Bengals will not make the postseason. I think they're done. I'm taking the Rams straight up on the money line in this one. I'm kind of with Big Al. I think they're going to shut. I don't think he plays this week, and I think they shut him down. And I think that's going to put a coffin in their season. There's only been one team in the expanded era. So in this expanded area with the addition of the new playoff game and the team, there's only been one team to start off 0-2 and make the postseason. It was Cincinnati last year. They're going to drop to 0-3 after this one. I think this Rams team is better than many people are giving it credit for. I do. I just think they're flat out better. I think that the Rams will come in here and compete. And Big Al, I want you to look this up. The Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football might be the worst bet in the history of bets.
no, Washington Redskins are worse than that. Come on.
I don't know, Big Al. I don't know.
No, it's not even play. Have you seen the Washington Redskins?
I don't know
on
if
Monday
Andy
Night Football?
Dalton ever won a game on Monday night. I don't know if he ever won one.
Okay.
And he lost like damn near every one he played in. They're terrible.
Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you Cincinnati's record on Monday Night Football. I mean, it's bad, but going back to, let's just say, go back 1-4. They're one in since 2015, 1-6 straight up, but 3-4 ATS. But now I'm going to give you the Washington Redskins record on Monday Night Football, and you can tell me.
I was looking at this earlier, not too long ago. There's a few teams that just straight up suck.
Okay, so Washington Redskins on Monday Night
Saints
Football.
are actually the most profitable team on Monday Night Football, I believe.
Who is?
The Saints.
The Saints. Okay. Well, against the spread, the Redskins on Monday Night Football, 19-39 ATS. It doesn't get much worse than that. Straight up is 18-41 straight up, but they're horrible.
Yeah, 1-6 last 7 straight up. They don't show up in these games. And if Burrow's not in the fold, man, the second best quarterback in the league, and you're banking on Jake Browning, it's not happening. I'm here to tell you this Rams team is better than y'all think. That game against Seattle was not a fluke. And them competing with the San Francisco 49ers, who I think are either like 2 or 3 in my best teams in the league, was encouraging. I think this is a sucker line here. I'm taking the Rams straight up money line. Sticking a coffin in my.
I'm taking the Bengals, man. This one is about as easy as it gets. This could be my top play of the week lock. So these two teams played in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. It came down to a controversial flag in the last second of the game. The Bengals and their fans have not forgotten that. It's going to be living hell for the Rams in this game. The Rams have been terrible in their other games. They had one guy that actually played well, Nakua, and my guess is that guy's going to be able to move this week because he couldn't even walk off the sidelines after the game. He was just so banged up from catching all the passes.
Placing Akuya for like a rookie of the year, I think, is a great bet. And
I don't think he's going to play another game. I mean,
I'll explain why after Mitch done talking.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to play. I don't think he's going to play another game for weeks. He was so banged up, he could not move at all. He came out of the game, looked like a serious rib injury, and then after the game, after the whistle blew and the game went off, he was still sitting there on the sidelines, not like in disgust because they lost or anything like that. It was because he couldn't move. And I don't see how this guy gets back on the field in the near future. I think he'll play again at some point. I don't think it's going to be for a few weeks at least. He looked really, really hurt.
So what do you do, Mitch? If you're Zach Taylor, do you start Browning or if you're
Burrow's available, you got to start him. He's your guy.
Be interesting.
I don't see Akua on the injury report. But here's why I say that.
He was so banged up, man. I don't see
Listen,
how he could possibly play.
this is the reason why I say I think it's a great bet. The greatest wide receiver season ever in NFL history. You know who the quarterback behind that was? Matthew Stafford, force feeding Cooper Kupp. The second best wide receiver season ever in NFL history. You know who the quarterback was? Matthew Stafford behind Calvin Johnson. There's been other guys that have just had career years with Matthew Stafford because he loves to find a guy, key in on that guy, and just feed him. And that's point to why Acuna is busted up because he's been getting a lot of balls. He's second right now in the National Football League in receiving. I think he's going to get a lot more coming his way for the remainder of the year, as many as his body can handle.
I don't think it's going to be many.
I think it's I think it's worth a shot. We saw Marvin Jones have huge years. Like, guys have huge years playing with Stafford, and with Cooper Kupp still on IR, I think it's a good bet. Acuna
misses practice with oblique injury, so he has a serious injury here after his dynamic NFL debut, and then he was injured again this week. Not a big guy. Now what are they saying? Not sure. Anyways, taking the Bengals. I think they still have in mind what happened in that Super Bowl. And I don't blame them. All right. Well, that wraps it up. It was a pretty lengthy, detailed show here. Hour and 36 minutes, morning style, which means I've been on the air for over 3 hours today. And I'll be on the drive-thru later on.
Sheesh.
It's a lot of Mitch. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see how this all shakes out. Of course, Jay and I will be on at halftime. Friday, NFL with the sauce as well. Al's got a show tomorrow or Friday. What day is it? So did we decide Friday, tomorrow? I think Friday.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Al will be back with his brand new package, teaser. All access, Al. I like it.
Yeah.
Al,
also, if folks are watching the show before Sunday, so there's still college football to be played, I've already posted 13 college football games on the premium side, including my college football game of the month. So just a little pitch here for those who are interested. Check it out over at PickDawgz.
Watch that weather, everybody. Make sure you watch that weather because it is supposed to be one of the worst storms to hit the East Coast. But make it a winning day, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Cardinals, we're going to win. I'll be wearing my Cardinals